Yeah, okay. I was just in the Cherokee. I'm back in my Hornet, and I wanted to talk about we 4x4s and all-wheel drives, and I'm not going to talk about the difference in them so much so as finding something that is a 4x4, not an all-wheel drive, was when I was looking for a car, I was really looking for, well, I started out looking for something that was going to be 4x4 that could tow my boat, right? So whatever it was that I bought, I really wanted a 4x4, not an all-wheel drive, and something that could tow a trailer, had towing capacity. Um, because when I first started looking for cars, was I I found a Dodge dealership. I was on Auto Trader, and I saw this Cadillac SRX, and it was used, and I thought, I think it was $22,000 or something like that. And I figured, something, I could just probably go in there, finance the used one, and keep my payments low, and that would be that. And now, so I clicked the little link that was there in Auto Trader, and it took me to this website, and it was up in Nanaimo. I was down in Victoria. So I just made a phone call. Oh, no, 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 no. I clicked the link to value my trade, and it went to that dealership, and they gave me a call, and I got a call from the finance manager. That's what it was. And this is how this all started. Okay. For me to get the Hornet, this is a long story, but what I learned in that conversation with him was basically, if you're going to finance an old car, it's still going to be the same payments or close to the same payments as a brand new one. And so he said he'd call me, but he'd try to I gave him all my financial information for him to look into it, because I was like, you know what, I'm going to start my buying process, and so I'm going to start looking at cars. And every time, they say every time that you look at somebody looks at your Carfax, or not your Carfax, but your credit score, it gives it a knock. But you get a period of time, so you could do 20 of those looks and take one knock on your credit score. Whereas if you look at a car, wait a month, look at another car, wait another month, look at another car the next month, and you'll get three hits on your credit score, right? So if you're car shopping and you think you're going to get into biting the bullet, do it all in a 2-3 week period, right? Go out there, look, see if you can get financed, see how much you can get financed for it, and start shopping and try to finance whatever it is that you're trying to do, right? Unless you're all on top of it and you're just going to go and buy something and you don't care about shopping for cars, right? So he said, he called me back, said, yeah, so this is what we're looking at. I can get you into a small SUV. And well, he started asking me weird questions like, how heavy is your boat? And how much, whatever. And so I gave him these answers, and he was trying to stick me into a Jeep Renegade, is what I found out. The cheapest, smallest little SUV, but it was a 4x4. I thought they were ugly. I thought they were junk. I didn't know anything about Jeep, but I just Googled some stuff, and some stuff came up, said Renegades are junk, right? I didn't trust them. But they do have the Jeep 4x4 system in them, which is something I didn't understand at the time. But it was a Jeep 4x4 system. And I was like, okay, that's good. But it only has a 600-pound towing capacity, which would have towed my boat, because it's a little John boat thing with a little trailer. But then buying a trailer for, because I bought a utility trailer, not just for the boat, but to use things. Because after that, what ended up happening is that the only cars that I could find with a 4x4 outside of Jeep were trucks, right? I thought the bigger the SUV, you would probably get a 4x4 system with it. Like if you went with Ford and you bought the, um, like an Explorer or something like that, it would have Ford's 4x4 system, right? But it's not true. It has an all wheel drive. And that was the same with all the SUVs. They all seem to have a 4x4 system. I mean, an all-wheel drive system. Sorry if I got that wrong. So all SUVs basically have an all-wheel drive system. And once you go outside, so the only ones that have their own 4x4 system, that work really well, not, um, so the one-off good all-wheel drive systems are from Subaru and Mitsubishi, and well, Jeep now because well, that's a 4x4. That's 4x4 system, right? But the all-wheel one-off really good all-wheel drive systems come from Mitsubishi and Subaru. Otherwise, everybody else, Mazda, Nissan, Dodge, Ford, you name it. I mean, Ford's got a GOAT system, but if you don't buy the GOAT system, it's the standard all-wheel drive system that all cars get. Okay, so you keep that in mind when you're shopping for SUVs, right? Or shopping for cars. So because I couldn't find a four by four system, I immediately started going into trucks, and I was looking at the Ranger. I had a quick look at the Maverick. I wasn't sold on that, even though it was in the price range. It was just it. I don't know. It looks like a kid's toy. It's super tiny, and the interiors on them really suck. Um, the Chevy Colorado or the GMC Canyon, is it? Yeah, and I kind of thought Nissan Frontier, but when I started looking at trucks, what I found was none of them were available on the lots on the island. I would have had to have ordered one and waited 6 to 7 months or something like that for it to come in. I did find a Chevy Colorado. It was the last one on this. It was the last one on the South Island, and it was in that sand brown color. But it had what I really liked about it is that it was the off-road version. This is Z71 or whatever, something. I can't remember the package or whatever, but it had the big tire, had the lift kit, had it was the 4x4. The only thing it did not have was a trailer hitch, right? Which is really what I was after it for. But buddy's like, no, just go get one installed at U-Haul. Everybody said that. If you need a hitch, go to U-Haul. And when I needed a hitch for my Hornet, I went to U-Haul. So that's where I got my hitch. It's a Curtis hitch or Curtis hitch, whatever you call them. It's mounted underneath. Now I think you can buy the Hornet with, because at the time you couldn't get a tow hitch for the Hornet. They didn't have any available. Even if you did buy one, you couldn't get it on it. But now they have one that's integrated with the bumper. You can buy a tow hitch and get it integrated with the bumper. I think for 2025 at least. Um, but yeah, so I ended up you got to go with an all-wheel drive system. And when we were looking for that Cherokee, uh, my mom was adamant that it had to be a 4x4, and I had to have this talk with her because I'm like, okay, you want a 4x4 or all-wheel drive? She's like, no, 4x4, and I said, okay, well then there's very, very, very little out there for that, and I think that's why we ended up at a Dodge dealership because I'm like the only 4x4s that you can get in like an SUV, if it's not a truck, unless you're going to go to Subaru or Mitsubishi. But like a Subaru Outback would have been fine. But if you want an actual 4x4, it's a Jeep or it's a truck. If you're okay with all-wheel drive system, like I said, Ford's got the GOAT system, which is kind of similar to what the Jeep's, but Jeep's 4x4 system is award winning. Everybody knows it. It works well and it's been tried and tested and proven, right? I don't know about the Ford GOAT system. It was new and people liked it. I just didn't know it hadn't been around long enough for it to be, um, for enough information to be on it, about it, sort of thing. Because it's got the same thing. It's got the dial and all that, but it was an upgraded option to the all-wheel drive system that's on the car, right? Or on the truck. Sorry, because I know the Broncos have it too. Because I did look at Broncos. I was like, they're There are Broncos. But when they first came out there were those tiny ones, right? And they all came with like a 1.5 liter in it. And I'm like, what? What? Broncos were like a legendary off-road 4x4 monster truck, right? And then they brought out that little Bronco, and I went and had looks at them, and yeah, okay, it's neat and it's retro and all of that, but the seats were terrible. I don't like sit. I don't know. I sat in those Broncos, man, and the seats are. I don't know how people sit in them. It's like sitting on a stool. That's what it felt like. Like none of the seat hugged you in any way. Anyway, but they have the goat system, and they have the new. Then they came out with the bigger Broncos, right, which start at like $80,000 Canadian, way out of price range. So yeah, so all-wheel drive systems. And the other way I learned that was so after I bought the Hornet, I was on the Hornet Onus forum. Somebody posted a video of the Hornet slip test or whatever, and it failed it, and it was a great big to do about it. And Hornets suck and this and that, right? And then they did a follow up video to that video where they brought out a Dodge um, technical guy or whatever, something like that, and he got him to. He was like, no, all these little SUVs have the same all wheel drive system. So if you do the exact same thing, and they did it with a Mazda, I think, and they did it with another one. And he goes, you do the exact same thing that you did with the Hornet on your slip test. It was so all three wheels were slipping and only one was on the ground, and it set off all the warning lights. Like the whole system failed, right? And it was pretty dramatic, right? But he said, okay, let's get a Nissan. So he was like, let's get in the Mazda and we'll do it to the Mazda because the Mazda will do the exact same thing. He goes, because this all-wheel drive system that's in this Hornet is the same one that's in the Mazda. It's the same one in the Nissan. It's the same one in the Volkswagen. It's the same one in the Hyundais. It's the same one. All of these little SUVs are on all these all-wheel drive systems, and they're all the same, right? Like the transmission in this isn't bespoke to the Dodge Hornet. It's just a 9-speed transmission that they plug in and play, right? This transmission is probably on a few other SUVs as well, you know. And that's why car makers do that to keep things cheap. But the all-wheel drive systems across the board, they're all the same, and keep that in mind when you're looking for an SUV. And if you want something rugged and 4x4ish, you are gonna have to buy a Jeep or a Subaru Outback or a Mitsubishi. What do they call them? Eclipse Cross, or I don't even know if yeah, because Mitsubishi has their own one-off four-wheel drive system, and so does Subaru has an award-winning four-wheel drive system, right? And they're very good, and they're all very reliable, and they're not your basic standard all-wheel drive system that every other vehicle gets, right? All right, I'll see you in the next one. I hope this helped you and gave you some information. And like and subscribe if you heard something. And if I missed something or you want to add something, do it in the comments because that helps other people because I don't know it all. I'm just some guy sitting in a car, right? All right, see you in the next one.